Yo, what's going on guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be continuing the how-to series following up from the boss video that I did yesterday for you. As always, this is going to be an in-depth video on how to play as all of the heroes and villains in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Today we're going to be covering the little green Jedi Master Yoda. We're going to be taking an in-depth look on all of Yoda's strengths and weaknesses, his star cards, strategies and advanced gameplay techniques. So without further ado, let's jump straight into Yoda's star cards and begin the video.
Start the video, you will,
So the first star card you're going to want to use is called Earned It, I Have. This card allows the area of effect for Unleashed to have a 30% faster radius growth. When blocking with Yoda, he will absorb all blaster fire in front of him and then convert it to an energy which can then be released in the form of a force push. While blocking with Yoda, you will see a yellow barrier in front of him. This is basically symbolising the range of the current force push you have, and the more blaster fire you receive while blocking equates to how powerful his force push will be. So what this card basically upgrades is how fast that the yellow barrier grows until it reaches its maximum reach, allowing you to unleash a max energy force push much quicker than without this card equipped. It's a very solid all-round card and can be used on any map. As you will always be blocking at one stage in the game, this helps you to quickly fill up that force push and send your enemies flying. Now for those of you who don't know where the force push meter is, it's actually located around your force push ability icon, as seen by the red arrow pointing to it right now for you. Unlike a standard horizontal bar, this actually fills up around the force push icon, so keep an eye on it when blocking, and once it's at full capacity you can go ahead and push multiple enemies away, damaging them simultaneously. Now for the second star card called Master of the Force. This card allows your force push to deal an extra 50 damage to all enemies unfortunate enough to be caught by it. Simply put, this card when paired with Earned It I Have is an absolute monster combination. An already maxed out standard force push will almost kill most troopers, but with this card equipped you can kill every trooper apart from a heavy. Heavies will still be badly damaged and may sometimes kill them depending on how many objects that they hit after being pushed. But it is also important to note that this card does not work unless your force push meter is at maximum. So this brings me back to what I said earlier about keeping your eye on your meter. The best thing to do is while blocking in front of enemies is to take your eyes off of the people firing at you and actually watch your meter. This way you're not exerting your block time and end up taking damage because your blockers ran out. When mastered, this is easily Yoda's best combination of cards and can really wipe out all of the enemies in front of you. Now for the third and final card called Agility. This card allows Yoda to do 3 dash attacks as opposed to his normal 2, but the recharge time is 10% slower. The reason why I chose this card over other cards is because of my gameplay style. As I've said before in my previous videos, and as I'm sure you've seen, I like to be extremely aggressive and rack up huge kill streaks and points with all heroes and villains. And if you've been following all of the videos I've uploaded and you've learned from them, then you'd probably be doing the exact same. And this is where the agility card really comes into play. There's 2 ways you can use this card, and throughout the video you will see me use both. You can use them for attack or to escape. When you have 2 or 3 enemies lined up in front of you, you can just dash at them, dealing them damage, and then immediately turn around and dash back at them, killing them on the way back. Normally you would have to wait before you can dash again, but this is where this card really starts to shine. You now have 1 dash left and you can use it to quickly escape from too much incoming fire, or you can wait the 15 seconds for another one to become available and repeat the same process of strafing them back and forth. Either way, it's super useful, and that 1 extra dash can really save your life, as it has done mine multiple times. So just a quick recap for you. Yoda's dash attack can be used for aggressive means or to evade enemy fire quickly.
Choose, you must.
Now that we have covered all of Yoda's star cards, let's talk about and break down his abilities. First up is Unleashed, which is Force Push. This is Yoda's primary defense force power and does exactly what you think it does. It pushes enemies away, causing them slight damage simultaneously. It's a great ability to use when cornered to quickly push your enemies away and retreat to gain some health if you're low. It's also a good offensive force power when used correctly, resulting in lots of kills if applied properly. When I say properly, I mean that there is a few misconceptions about how force push doesn't work properly on enemies that are not the same height as you. For example, you're on a ledge and enemies are firing at you and you're blocking all of the fire, charging up your force push. But when you actually go to force push them, they are still there, unleashing a rainstorm of blaster bolts upon you. In order for force push to work, you must be at the same height as your enemies. That's just a quick tip I wanted to give you guys, as I've seen a lot of people make this mistake and wonder why they didn't go flying. Needless to say, if you're unfortunate enough to come across Darth Vader while playing as Yoda, you definitely want to push him away and retreat unless he is at least half health. Even with Vader at half health, he can still destroy you unless you know how to properly play as Yoda, and even then it can be a bit of a tricky situation. While we're on the subject of villains to stay well away from, it would of course be Darth Vader, Captain Phasma and her shock droid, and sometimes Kylo Ren, especially if he's a good Kylo Ren. The likes of Bosk, Boba Fett and Palpatine are pretty easy to take down as they have relatively low health and Yoda's strikes are fast and quick. Now for Yoda's second ability called Presence. This is an ability that you most definitely want to be using every time it becomes available, as seen here. Presence gives Yoda temporarily additional bonus health as well as his allies around him. When you're close to your allies, you will see a number in the middle of the presence icon. This is basically indicating how many players will receive your health boost. And as a good pointer, sometimes it pays to be selfish, as you don't actually receive any additional battle points for using this ability on your allies. So don't actively seek your allies to use it on them. If there's no one around, then you could just go ahead and use it on yourself. It takes approximately 30 seconds to recharge, so just keep that in mind. Now for Yoda's third and final ability called Dash Attack. Yoda leaps forward with the Force and strikes at his enemies, causing them moderate damage. This attack will one-shot snipers, but you will need 2 dash attacks to kill an assault, heavy or officer class. The best way to use this is to dash forward at them, striking them once, and then immediately turn around and strike them on the way back for a sure kill. Or you could dash at them once just to close the gap and then use a normal lightsaber strike to finish them off. Or if an enemy has an ion disruptor, you can use it to chase after them really quickly and get them before they even get to fire a shot off. The one single tip I want to give you guys is to be adaptive. You cannot go into every game with the same playstyle over and over because your enemy's team changes, and so must you. So just be aware of your surroundings and always try to keep a lookout ahead and plan your next move. Okay, now that we have Yoda's star cards and abilities covered, let's talk about some advanced gameplay techniques. The biggest advantage that Yoda has is his size. I mean, just look at him, he's like a little green snot.
Green I may be, snot I am not.
Yeah, buddy, you keep telling yourself that. I guess he's not finding it funny. Anyway, back to the video before I was rudely interrupted. Yoda's size grants him a huge advantage. Being so small, it's hard for your enemies to hit you, and it's not a coincidence why I'm always jumping in the video. When you're jumping, you are very hard to hit as opposed to just running on the ground. You would have also noticed me using melee while in midair as well, and there is a reason for that, and the reason is you travel longer distances. A normal jump will propel you into the air and drop you straight down, but using a melee strike while in midair actually carries you through the whole jump. It's also good for reaching higher places as you actually jump a little higher as well. This trick isn't just for Yoda though, it can also be used for Darth Maul, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Rey and so forth. However, it cannot be used on blaster heroes such as Han Solo, Bosk or Lando. While we're on the jumping subject, there is a neat little trick I found out while using Presence. Using Yoda's Presence will start a 2-second animation, but if you jump through the air, swing your lightsaber and then activate Presence, it will actually cancel this animation that would normally leave you vulnerable for 2 seconds. One of the best tips I can give you while using Yoda and jumping is to actually jump in your general target's direction, and while you're above them, then use a melee strike. This will lock on Yoda to the enemy, drop him straight down from his jump and also strike them. This all happens lightning fast and cuts out around 1 second or so of lock-on time as opposed to just running up to them. I've already done it multiple times in this video just as a reference. Yoda is best suited on well-covered maps such as Endor being a perfect example. The trees and vegetation make for a great cover as well as all of the sharp twining turns. He is also suited to Kamino, Naboo, Takodana and Death Star 2. Try to avoid using Yoda on bigger maps such as Hoth, Krayt and Kashyyyk. And if you want to play on bigger maps, that's fine, you can definitely still do well with him, but just keep out of sight and stick to the lines of cover. I've seen a lot of people using dodge as Yoda, and in my honest opinion this is something you most definitely don't want to do. His dodge is by far, and I mean by far, the most shortest in the game, and you actually slow down for a very brief moment after using it. With Yoda, you always want to be on the move, scouting ahead and planning a flank on your enemies, as well as taking out people who hold objectives. Another great fairly obvious tip is to activate Presence just before you enter an enemy stronghold, just as I did there 2 seconds ago. I see far too many people running in and getting destroyed straight away, leaving himself and his allies without the presence buff that otherwise could have saved his life. In this situation, I decided that attack wasn't the best course of action, as the enemies were everywhere down those stairs, so I decided to go for a flank. And you'll see how that works out very shortly. Half of the battle while using any hero or villain is using your head. If you want to get high kill streaks and scores, you need to stay alive, and rushing into a group of 20 enemies isn't the right way to go about it. So again, I can't stress how important that it is to actually think ahead. It's that time in the video again, guys, where unfortunately it's coming to an end. I really appreciate all of the support I've gotten over the last couple of weeks, with comments such as these are one of the best tutorial series on YouTube, and I've gotten loads of messages to say that the previous noobs are now crushing it on the battlefront, and hopefully now you will as well. Now I have a friend here just before I go who would like to say a few things. I know he's a pretty hated character, but look guys, it's just for fun, it's all for shits and giggles, so I'll let him explain.
Ready? Ready? Misa just wanted to say a big thank you to all of the new subscribers, and Misa thinking you're gonna enjoy the game.
Anyway guys, that's it from me. I'm out, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
Ships are grounded. Our first victory in a new era.